Daily wrist routine 2.0. Let's get right into it. We're going to start off with some closed chain elbow rotations. Now, depending on where I place my knees, so the further back, the more I can load myself up, the closer I bring my knees in, the easier this is going to be. And from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread my fingers wide, and I'm going to rotate my elbows out, which will create just a little bit of a bend, and then I'll rotate my elbows forward, which will create extension, right? Now, I want to work on doing a couple of these where I'm just keeping my arms straight. So we'll do about 10 of these. And what I'm working on is keeping my shoulders stacked over my wrist and pushing through my back. So I don't want to be sinking through my back when I'm doing any of these movements. From here, I can get a little more loose with it. Start bending the elbows, straightening out the elbows, even changing hand positions can really change the sensation of the stretch. From here, we're going to get into an extension paddles and rail sequence. What we're going to do is we're just going to start off by leaning back like this, rotating the elbow pits forward, and then leaning over the wrist. Now, I should feel a stretch on the back side. I want to avoid feeling any blocking, pinching, or pain on the front side here. And then again, I'm just going to find the stretch. And once I find the stretch, I'm going to work on some breathing, just long inhales and exhales. So on the inhale, I create just a little bit of tension throughout my body, pressing down into the ground a little bit, about 20%. And on the exhales, I try to sink just a little deeper into the stretch. And it's all fair game to lean to one side more than the other. You might notice that you're favoring one side over the other. So after about 10 breaths, we're going to do our first contraction. So our first contraction is going to be me pressing my fingers through the ground. I'm going to start with a big inhale. And as I press my fingers through the ground, I should feel the forearms activate. So once I find the forearms and I find the tissues that are being lengthened, I'm going to work on dialing up that pressure. So I'm pressing harder into the ground. I'm at about 50%, 60, 70, just ramping up tension as much as I can handle. Out on the edge of the shakes. And then from there, we're going to switch things up. Now, this one gets challenging, so if you need to, you can sit back a little bit, but ideally, we stay forward like this, and we want to get the other side. We want to get the regressive tissue, so the front side for this exercise. So I'm going to take a big inhale, and then we're just going to try to slowly, right? If we try it so fast, it'll happen in the elbows. So just slowly find all the tissue on this side and just wake those guys up, like as if you were trying to lift your hands off the floor so that somebody could slide a piece of paper under here. You might not be able to get much movement. What's more important is getting the activation on this side of the forearms. So I'm just going to hold that as I ramp up tension. 9, 8, again, trying to really spread the fingers as wide as I can. And just trying to get as much lift as I can without bending at the elbows, changing shapes in the spine, or in the shoulders. After about 10 seconds, come off tension and shake it out. So now we're going to hit the opposite end of the picture. What I like to do here is almost like those closed chain elbow rotations, but I'm going to take my hand and place it palm up like this. So I'm going to take this hand, I'm going to trap the hand down. I'm going to bend the elbow. There's very little load on this hand right now. This is just a relax and contract method. So from here, we're going to relax, and then we're going to rotate and contract. For most of us, this is going to be just enough stretch, and it might even be hard to extend the elbow. So just work as much as you can comfortably. And again, I should feel most of the stretch on the front side of my wrist here. I shouldn't feel any closing angle pain on this end of the wrist. And I don't necessarily need to straighten it out to feel a stretch, but if you are one of those people that are extra bendy, you might need to place your hand a little bit further out like this, and then add just a little bit of a lean here, and that can make the stretch a little bit more intense. Me, I'm good right here, and what I want to do is just come in and out of this position for about 10 reps. Then I'm just going to hang out, and I'm going to do about 10 breaths. Again, I can use ISO ramping here, and the thumb actually makes a difference too. So spreading the fingers out might change the sensation of the stretch. And then what I'm doing is a little bit of tension on the inhales, relaxation, maybe a little bit of lean on that exhale. Playing with what it feels like to really, really rotate this elbow. So after about 10 reps, we're going to do a pelvis contraction, which will be pressing the backside of my hand into the ground. So just pressing down into the ground. 7, 6, ramping up tension, trying to backhand the ground as hard as we can. 3, 2, 1. With the elbow extended, we're going to just try to find all that front side stuff. So all this stuff right here, we're just going to try to activate and lift off of the ground without bending. Whew. Cramp City. The fun stuff. All right, so now we're going to jump in, do the same thing on the opposite arm. So again, trapping the arm, bending the elbow, and then just rotating. And so you're just going to floss back and forth. Again, it's important to not lose the shoulder blades here. So I'm staying active in the upper body, and then I'm just rotating in and out of this position. And again, very little load. This is not like a heavy trying to get my triceps lift, push up. This is just relaxing and contracting in and out of the stretch. Again, the lateral lean like this makes it much, much stronger. I've decided to break this wrist a couple times, so although my range is probably better than it should be or could be, still no need for the lean from me. But don't hold yourself back because of me. All right, so after about 10 breaths here, or 10 reps, we're going to get into 10 breaths. So again, just breathing, maxing and relaxing. I get bored, so I like to add little leans, little rocks. So from here, we're going to get into that pelvis contraction. So I'll bring the assisting hand over here, and then I'm just going to press the backhand into the ground. Try to get all 5 fingers pressing into the ground and maintain this elbow extension and elbow rotation. So I'm just ramping up tension into the ground as if I was trying to press this entire backside into the ground. After about 10 seconds of ramping up tension, that's about all I could take. Now I'm going to switch it up. So again, not bending here, finding the front side stuff, We're just going to try to get that guy off of the ground. Ooh, this one wants to scoop, right? So I'm trying to keep it nice and long and avoiding the scoop like this, and then making the extension happen, or making the flexion happen. Ooh. So after about 10 seconds, I'll just take these guys, roll them out. That can be quite intense, especially if you've never done it before. Okay, so after that, we are going to get into what I like to call knuckle rockers. So options here. If you place the thumb inside of the hands, it's going to make it much stronger, right? If you keep the thumb on the outside of the fist, it will make the stretch a little bit lighter. Now, what we want to emphasize is rotating or getting, I believe it's Iona deviation. I'll fix it if not. But anyway, the name's not important. We want to get this guy to flex in this direction, and then we want it to extend or flex in this direction. Right? There's not much room in this thumbs up driving back position, but we work on it. So I like to put my thumb inside, and then from here what we're going to do is we're just going to rock forward. This is really the one that I find is a little bit easier to feel the stretching sensation, right? And if you spend a lot of time writing or a lot of time at the keyboard, this can get really, really, really tight. Or any of those sports that involve, like, you know, holding onto a racket or anything like that, handlebars seem to do it for me. I'm just opening everything up with a passive stretch here. I'm also watching that the shoulders don't go too high in the neck. I find that's kind of common for me. And again, just kind of playing with searching for lines of tension as I do this. And we're just going to finish off after about 10 breaths with some contractions. So trying to activate these tissues as if I'm sliding my hands forward into the carpet. Do that for about 10 minutes. Ramping up tension as high as I comfortably can. Doesn't feel very comfortable, but I'm working on it. From here, I'm going to go opposite direction. So as if I'm trying to lift my pinkies off the ground, I'm going to try to activate this stuff right here. Again, avoiding the shoulders. Shortened tissues always like to cramp, so I'm cramping on this side. All right, one more move, guys. We are going to finish off with some wrist cars. So in essence, I'm going to do these both open hand and closed hand. I like to grab a mat, something to do this on. And in essence, what we're going to work on is taking the forearm and the wrist and placing it over the edge like this. From here, I'm going to flex and extend. Right? Avoid that whole scooping. Right? You want to slap it, don't grab it. And extend the wrist. Then you're going to work on scraping all this side stuff over here, which we just worked on, right, when we were doing those push-ups. And then we're just going to rotate all the way down, right? So as far as you can, really keeping the hand open. And then you're just going to rotate and try to scrape all this stuff on this side. And then we're going to do about 3 reps. So that was 1 in that direction. Just trying to find as much range as I can without allowing my forearm to move. So I'm keeping this blocked with the edge of the mat and my opposite hand. I'm trapping it down so only or as much of the movement as I can is happening from the wrist, right? Find that if I go a little bit closer like this, that's a little more strict. If I stay a little more to my elbow, that's a little easier. Okay, so that's about 3. Forearms are on fire right now. This looks easy. It's not. Then we're going to go here. We're going to scrape on the edge, go to full extension, come all the way around, through the top. Remember, slap it, don't grab it. Again, 3 really slow and controlled wrist cars. So if you've done your job right, by this 3rd time, you want to be done with this. Whew. So shake it out. Then I'm going to close it off with the fist or closed hand version. So I'm going to make a fist like this, and then we're just going to go down, and we're just going to scrape the edge, bring the knuckles all the way towards the face, and just rotate it all the way around. So again, I like to keep these very slow and controlled to where just 3 reps is really all I can do with this. At the end of the 3rd rep, drive the knuckles up, and then I'm just going to go in the opposite direction. Again, trying to keep the forearm trapped and trying to keep as much of the movement happening from the wrist as possible. You can see there's some shake on that inside end right there, but I work on it. Awesome. After I've knocked out about 3 of those, we'll change directions. We'll hit the opposite side. So we'll just come over. Now this is the one again that I like to break a lot. So we're going to bring it as high as we can. Just do your best to forget the rest. You can see the elbow on this one really wants to travel. So does the shoulder blade. It wants to help the wrist out here. But believe it or not, obviously after a crash, this is pretty good. Could be worse. You usually recover from crashes pretty quickly because of this wrist routine. So 3 to the right, 3 to the left. Looks easy, but it's not. Flip the directions, close the fist. We're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. Scrape the edge, ride it all the way around. Like half the range of motion from the other side. It's all good in the hood. There's popping, but no pain, so we good. And that's a wrap.